Millikin is very thick with spiritual encounters. I believe that you just look at Millikin and you know that there's something up. So yeah, I am not surprised at all that more than one people have had interactions with spiritual beings.
I don't know, I've always been really interested in it just because it's so, like, it's crazy to think that things aren't actually of this world and stuff like that. I've always been very superstitious. And then coming to Millikin, it, like, reinforced all of that.
Hauntings occur all around the world, but what truly leads to a place becoming haunted? The word haunt comes from hante, meaning to frequent. It can be assumed by this that it takes multiple reports of a haunting to consider a place haunted. There are many different types of hauntings, such as interactive hauntings, poltergeists, demonic activity, residual hauntings, and shadow people. These spirits are believed to haunt these places because they have experienced tragedy before their deaths, and might not have led them to believe that they are dead. Other spirits might aim to cause terror or harm in order to make people suffer as they did. In general, newer buildings are not considered haunted because they have had less time to have negative events occur to people.
The most well-known one is related to the story of the Aston ghost, which is Bernice Richardson. And I have to look at my notes because I'm not good at memorizing dates, but she died in 1927 in Aston. She was found in her room in Aston Hall after drinking carbolic acid because she was despondent over her grades and not being allowed to register for the next semester. And I suppose presumably other things.
In Aston, there's these two mirrors, and they're both next to each other, which is kind of like, people say, like a portal as well. Mirrors technically are like a portal. And so I'm sitting on my bed, and she's sitting on the other side, and we're just going over lines, and all of a sudden she just stops talking, and I go, "What?" She's like, I said, "What? Tell me, what happened?" She goes, I said, please tell me. Come on, I'll believe you. She's like, you won't believe me. And I go, just tell me. And again, then she just finally is like, okay. She's like, I saw a girl in the mirror.
It was last fall semester of my freshman year, and I had practicum. I had electric shop for theater practicum, and it was me and Alanis, and we were like the last ones in here because light shop was always in here, and we had like finished really early, and so we were just hanging out in the light booth upstairs, and we were literally just like sitting in like the big spinny chairs that usually the board ops work in, and we were just talking, and like while we were talking, I definitely like noticed like faint. I thought like I could hear faint music box music, but it was so faint and like it was so like out of nowhere that I was like, it's probably just like I'm tired or whatever.
Yeah, so with Nevermore, based on Edgar Allan Poe, we definitely kind of assumed that the ghost we'd come to name him the Ghost of Poe himself. It actually started with callbacks for the show, when randomly during the middle of callbacks, the rehearsal room caught on fire. One of the fans caught on fire for no apparent reason, and we had to evacuate, which was odd and spooky. And then when we moved to a different rehearsal hall, actually an old gym, we were doing a rehearsal where the cast was all on one side of the room, and the air conditioner that was on the far end of the room just literally fell off the wall and detached itself. No one was near it, no one touched it, it just like jumped off a giant box.
Where it was kind of real for me was actually in this room, when I was laying on this bed right here, and I was laying this way, and excuse me, and I was sleeping, and I usually don't move in my sleep, and if I do, it's just because I'm trying to get like a new grip on my sleep. But my knee was raised up in my sleep, and like maybe I thought like maybe I fell asleep with my knee up, but I don't remember like going to sleep with my knee up, so it must have been raised in the middle of my sleep. And then like you know when you're falling in your sleep and like you have a dream where you're falling, you like wake up like, oh god. Well, my knee got like was moving towards my corkboard, but instead of moving, it was like pushed and like hit on the corkboard. Again, it could have been like over exaggerated, but it was like so just like, what just happened? and that was more violent.
And it was really creepy because it sounded like I have a music box for my grandparents. That's their wedding song, and it sounded like very faintly like that. And it creeped me out. And I was like, okay, I want to get out of this theater like as soon as possible. And thankfully, there's like a door up there that you can go out, so I didn't have to like go all the way down the stairs. And I was getting my backpack, and I was like, okay, I just need to leave. Like, if anything else happens, I'm gonna freak out. And then there's giant, like, bang right behind me happened, and I, like, left. I left my book bag and everything. I didn't get it until the next day, because I was like, I'm leaving. I don't want to be here anymore. It was creepy.
We're like, okay, that's also weird. And one day during rehearsal, our stage manager actually got an email from the IP address was go away 1 backwards, and the body of the text was just email, or the body of the text was Nevermore 11 times backwards, and we actually say Nevermore 11 times in the song The Raven. We were like, okay, that's really spooky. And then one other time, our stage manager, Jenna Mondry, actually walked into the rehearsal space, and our props cabinet, the lock was just shaking on the props cabinet, but no one was in the space and no one was in there. We're like, okay, that's also really weird. So that's kind of a lot of the interactions we had with Nevermore.
The Mueller family, which was a local, well-known family related to the Mueller Company, I believe, used to own the house where the Alumni and Development Department is now. And after they owned it, there was a sorority there. I think they were the Zetas. And they had the Zetas had a legend of a maid of the Mueller family that was named Louise that haunted that house. I don't know. I haven't heard anything from anybody that works over in alumni development to know if that legend continues.
It was really early in the morning, and a woman comes into our room, but there wasn't like a door. Like, you didn't hear a door open and shut. She just was there, but I wasn't awake. What woke us up was the drawing of curtains, like whoosh, open. And she looked at us sternly and turned around and walked. And I can't even tell you if she just faded away or walked through the door, but I want to say she more like just faded away. And she really didn't look transparent from what my memory is, but of course, you know, when you see something in a moment like that, your memory's funny. She was dressed in kind of like a maid's uniform that was gray and white, and she had a little maid's hat on, and it was very stern. And we both woke up, we looked at each other, we were like, what the hell was that?
It's so skeptical when people like talk to me about this, because like they can go and they can watch this video and see like, oh, no, he's faking it, or oh, they paid him to do that.
And what I'm struck by, I know that your focus of your documentary is ghosts and things like that, but when I read these articles, I'm struck by the fact that, you know, these were real people, and they had families who were very torn up and saddened by their deaths. So that's what's interesting to me about that, the humanity of these people and the history of the campus and the history of the times that they lived in.
Like, sure, you can sit here and listen to me talk about all these things, but until it happens to you or until you witness something, it's pretty hard to believe. Like, even when it happened to me, I was like, nope, nah. And now it happens, and it's just like, oh, well, welcome to my room.
Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we actually did 2 stage rituals. We asked Wyatt Burton, who is another student here at Millikin, Andy Burns, to come in 2 separate times and actually burn sage in the rehearsal hall, as well as once we kind of moved into the space to kind of hope and please the ghosts that be, because we just didn't want any of our actors getting hurt. So it was really cool to like have that and just have a little more sense of peace within our space.